Okay, so hi everybody. My name is Howard, and thank you all for joining this session on business analytics. I have with me David, who is the program director, and Hannah, who is the program administrator. And today we're going to go through what the program is about. We're going to talk you all through it, and hopefully we can answer some questions at the end as well. This session will have a presentation, and if you have any questions, sort of between now and during the presentation, please do feel free if it's relevant to the content. If it's something that's a little bit more sort of, other activities based, then please maybe save them to the end or put them in the chat and we can answer those as we go along. And without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing the screen and let David share his.
Okay, let's see if I can get this working. Looks good to me. Can you see that, people? Yeah,
Yep.
I hope you can. That's all good then. So welcome. I've put 10th cohort in here because this will be, well, by September or October when you guys start, it will be the 10th cohort. We're quite well established now. We've been going for a long time. So we kind of like to think we know what we're doing, but we're also looking to always improve what we do. I'm the program director. My name's David Alderton. And alongside of me is Hannah Roberts. I thought she was waving. There, she's waving now. So Hannah, she's the program administrator. She keeps everything in line and ticking over and moving forward in an excellent way. So I think it was always good to start kind of a picture of where you will end up if you join the program. You'll end up on the top floor, the 50th floor of the Pointy Building in Canary Wharf. It gives fantastic views of the city, both westward and eastward out of the city. I always find it quite interesting when students join us. They're absolutely flabbergasted to begin with the views. They spend ages taking photographs. After about a week, they forget the view and they start focusing on the program, which probably is a good thing. If you think about it, that's what they're there for. But that's where we're located. It's a dynamic space, lots going on. It's an expanding space. I haven't got time to maybe talk through those expansion plans today, but we're in a good location, that's for sure. In terms of the vision for the program, I think I'm very clear about this statement. I think the vision is to accelerate the careers of future analytics capable business leaders. So I used to call it analytics aware, but then I realized actually, and this was feedback from our cohorts, from our students saying, we've got a lot of technical skills here. We're capable in things. Be clear about what we're doing. Yes, we're coming from a school of management, effectively a business school. We're not in computer science, but we're doing some stuff here, which you'd find in a computer science degree if we were to investigate a bit further. There are four words that I use to kind of underpin this kind of vision, which help us to decide, future directions and sort of has decided has been a cause of why we're here today, sort of thing, in terms of structure at least. I like to think of us as delivering something that's practical, relevant, challenging, and unique. Now, the honest word to watch out for here is challenging. It is a challenging program. There is no doubt in my mind it's a challenging program, but we're definitely practical. I hope we're relevant because we're always looking for new things to be added to the program. And I think there are aspects of what we do which are unique, and maybe I'll pick up that point later. I like to think the program is transformational. So we have quite an open policy in terms of the type of students that join us. We're not asking for people with strong programming skills to join us. In fact, you can join us with zero programming skills. What this means is, and it's not just about programming skills, the course, the 1 year management, Masters in Business Analytics course, I was going to call it Masters in Management there, the Masters in Business Analytics, I think we're transformational. I think people come to us and they become kind of different people at the end of it. I definitely notice that. Picking up on that word of challenging, I like to draw a picture of a kind of mountain slope. That's what it's meant to be, based around 3 terms. I wish we had a 2 year program, but we don't. We conform to a 1 year program. That's a contributing factor to make it challenging. And it's about what the goal is at the end of this. What are we trying to get to? Well, I think term 1 is tough because everything is new for most people. Term 2 is a bit tougher because the topics that are covered are more challenging. And then term 3, perhaps not so challenging, but still different in as much as it's based around a dissertation project. And I'll give you a little bit more on that. So there are tough times, hence the cloud to represent rainy, cold, tough times. But at the end of it, there's definitely sunshine that you guys will reach. Just to give you a view of kind of the diversity of what we have. This is current year, current cohort. We have 160 students this year. In fact, we should have had 140 students, but landing on 140 students is quite difficult. It's fine. We've got the capacity to teach 160 students. What that means is out of those 160 students, we've got about 45 nationalities, which immediately gives us a level of diversity perhaps that you won't have experienced before. And you can kind of read through all the kind of long tail of countries that are or nationalities that are represented, if you like. Average age as a metric is kind of quite interesting. Many students have had some previous experience. So we do have people in their 30s and 40s who come to join us. Equally, we have people who are 21, 22 who've just left their undergraduate program. Absolutely fine. We're open to the whole age range in terms of, and nationality range, if you like, of people joining us. The other thing which I'm quite, what's the word for, pleased about is the fact we have a kind of good gender balance. So although it's a technical, I think it's quite a technical program, there's nearly 60% females and nearly 40% males in the cohort, and that's been consistent. In fact, these two metrics, average age 24 and that split on gender, has been pretty consistent for a number of years now. You might, as many people will do, go, oh, but I've got a degree in advanced zoology, and you go, but I really want to do this program. I go, fine, apply, hopefully get invited to a video interview, and then convince us that's the right place for you to be, and you're the right person for us. It's about you convincing us. But the truth is, we do have clusters of degrees, basically. So these are the clusters of sort of degrees. We've taken the kind of this year's cohort and split them up into kind of degrees. So yes, we have the majority of people from a business management perspective, or degree, or first degree, I should say. But at the other end of the bar chart, we see we do have some arts and humanities students. Absolutely fine. I love it when psychologists apply. I think they're an interesting bunch of people when they come to us. Then you get an awful lot out of the program. So we're open in terms of type of first degree. Okay. Okay, I did, you mentioned at the start, I'm just going to just flip it on my screen. If you do have questions as we go, it's absolutely fine to ask a question. We've got a chat line open as well, so you can jump into the chat and just ask a question there, and I'll stop and try to answer it in the best way I can. Okay, so let's now clarify the structure of the program and sort of put a little bit more detail on that, what the mountain, if you like, looks like as you go through it. And this is very key, and we could work back on this. Actually, for me, the most important thing is to make you employable. To make you employable, we do a term 3 dissertation project. To do a term 3 dissertation project, you basically have to prepare for that by doing the stuff we give you to do in terms 1 and terms 2. However, why I'm talking about this now is this kind of term 3 structure and setup actually starts right the way in term 1. You don't have much to do to do with the process in term 1, a little bit at the end, but our job is to start to identify projects that you will be ready to complete by the time you get to term 3. So that's why I've got that kind of project identification box in the bottom. But essentially, it's quite simple in term 1. We have 4 core modules: programming, statistics, marketing, and strategy. Quite diverse, quite synchronized as well, so they're quite closely linked together. Notice the way the terms are divided up in terms of, if you like, what you have to achieve at the end of the term. So the master's program is defined as something that has 180 academic credits. So each term you have to complete 60 credits, and that equates to basically four modules. Term 2, there's still 4 modules to complete, but you have choice. So we have mandatory modules of operations and predictive analytics, and then we ask you to choose at least one module from Group A. That's the light blue collection of modules. Those modules have been built by us specifically to have an analytics meaning, purpose, if you like, or focus, possibly a better word. But we're in the School of Management, lots of programs happening, lots of different interesting modules going on. So you can take one of those kind of different blue group of modules. For me, but I'm a bit biased, I'd love it when people take two of the Group A modules, because then I know that people are really focused on analytics. Equally, I have lots of conversation with students who'll say things like, I really want to do, I had a conversation yesterday, I really want to do, now they've started it, influence and negotiations. I go, fine, that's fantastic. Great, let's do it. I can see a question, I think, in the chat. What's it say?
It's just me chipping in with
Oh,
a
okay. Okay, fine. Sorry, Hannah. I just stretched my screen a bit so I can see who's speaking on my chat. Okay. All right. And then so term two has a lot going on, a lot of spread. For term one, you're kind of closely bound to other members of the cohort. Term two, you spread your wings and start to mix much more. Then in the bottom sort of section here, I've got project matching. This is when you start have to kind of put some effort into the projects that we found you. There's a whole matching process that takes place. I call it matching. It's actually an interviewing process that takes place. So you will interview for projects. So you have to sell yourself to a particular company to undertake a project with them. Okay. And then term three, well, it's the dissertation project. It is worth 60 credits. So the dissertation project is actually worth 4 of the standard modules from term 1 and term 2. We put a lot of effort in. If you think, I've already said to you, start of term, we're talking to companies. Companies are really into what are you going to deliver to us? Now, that's the company. What value are you going to bring? Now, the truth is, that's a bit different to what we as an academic institute want. So we have some formal things that you have to deliver, a dissertation report and a presentation. But actually a project itself will have deliverables that that company has actually specified. And that could be code, it could be a presentation, it could be a whole range of different things, an executive summary, just almost anything comes to mind that could be asked of you from a company perspective. What we do, though, in term 3, an added kind of support, if you like, is we provide you some project supervision. So you will work directly with an individual academic who'll be your supervisor. You'll also get, but it's not on this diagram, you will have a company mentor as well. What makes us different and unique is this aspect of what we do. I'm not aware of other master's programs, certainly in business analytics, that expect you to own your own dissertation project in term 3 and expect you to be working with a real project with a company. Yeah. So many programs will say, yeah, we do a dissertation project, and then you discover you're one of 6 people working on a particular project. Okay. So I think that makes us a bit unique. This is a very kind of broad view of the kind of projects we do. So they come from different aspects of business, from more kind of customer focused type problems, right the way down to maybe some application of deep learning techniques. All of that is possible because of what the content provides you with in the first 2 terms. Having said that, and I've said this to an individual this morning, I've challenged them to take on board a project which has got nothing to do with what they've learned in term 1 and term 2, because I want to stretch them. I want them to learn something new and push themselves to the limit. And I've told them to go hunting for a project that will do that for them. Okay. That's not for everybody. That's a kind of ideal state in a sense to be in. But I like the idea that term 3 is not just about doing a project. It's tick box done project. It's about people stretching themselves individually. And we've got quite a bit of experience this over 8 years. We've done over 700 different projects. The kind of companies we worked with last year are listed here. There were 91 companies. Some companies offer us more than one project before you kind of think, oh, wait a minute, if you're doing 140 students, how does that maths work out? So some companies give us multiple projects, still independent projects, still for their own, for individual students to undertake. You'll notice a whole broad range of companies in here. Some are, are known, global organizations, some you'll never heard of before. There are certainly some charities within here. There are definitely some startups within here. So we look to engage companies that have problems of interest to us. It's not just being focused on brands of global organizations, which we think we should be working with. Great, we work with them. You can see Chanel here, fantastic. But we like to have this broad range of companies, or more precisely, the broad range of problems for students to deal with, find solutions for. I always get kind of asked this kind of question around, I'll just throw them all up. Where do I end up? And I absolutely recognize that the reason to do this kind of course is about improving your chances of employability. So almost a number one question is, well, where will I get to after this? So I can only answer that question giving you an insight of where previous students have ended up. Okay. And the roles that have taken place and the sectors that they have worked in to give you an indication of you like, of outcomes. It is pretty broad in actual fact. And one of the things I think which isn't necessarily captured here is many of our students, for instance, will go and work for a startup. Or many of our students may even, I say many, some of us, let's be clear about it, some of our students will do a project with a company, love it so much, and they're loved so much, they end up carrying on, and they end up taking a job with that particular company. What we find is people's initial views about what they want to be and what they want to become changes as the program moves forward. And that's absolutely fine and expected. I expect that then because it's about starting to understand what you're really interested in and capable of. So I'm always advising students not to kind of spend time right at the start thinking job, 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 job. Actually, they should be thinking course at the start. Yeah, that's where I think people should focus. Not everybody listens to me, but that's absolutely fine. And then I think we should be talking a little bit about the kind of outside world a little bit. If we've got this kind of vision of becoming analytics capable leaders, that means at some point in people's careers, not necessarily immediately having done the program, they're going to have a business leadership kind of capability or be in a business leadership role. I've got this diagram suggesting that will be in 5 years. That's a kind of just a visualization. It's not supported by kind of vast amounts of research. I definitely now, having been around for a number of years, can see previous students getting definitely into leadership positions. So one of the things we have to think about is differentiation. It's a hugely competitive world. And therefore, how do you start to differentiate yourself? So I think there are ways you differentiate yourself. Just doing the master's program probably isn't enough. It's a good starting point. UCL, good brand. I believe that the program content is pretty good. But I think you need to be also considering some other skills that are pretty important for success, from resilience down to networking. So another thing that we try to support is the acquisition of these sorts of skills as you go through the program with various kind of activities. So for instance, we put a lot of work into what we call the connected cohort. We spend a lot of time enabling you to connect with each other, then moving on to connecting with people outside of your program, maybe in the School of Management, as you will do typically in term 2, and then the broader workplace network that comes from doing a project. But I also think a reality of the space we occupy, which is a technical space, is you can't just do the program and kind of sit on your hands and go, I've done it now. I don't need to worry about any more technology. No, you need to keep learning. We can only cover so many things. And for sure, the world is changing very, very rapidly. And that's about it. I've done that quite quickly. Apologies. That wasn't meant to be a sprint, but it's turned into it. Someone has got a question for me already. Could you please share a recent or case study of work, and particularly those involving industry plastering? Examples? Yeah, I'm trying to draw some from the top of my head. I mean, we certainly have looked at, well, if I go back, actually, all of these, if I go back in my slide, it might be quicker. Hold on. Let me just get those examples out. All of these are examples here. Let me get this on the screen. All these examples here are examples of projects that have been delivered over time. So those are examples of the consulting sort of projects in the industry. Well, I mean, I'm not giving the company names here, but it's giving you an example of the type of projects we do. Yeah. So it's very kind of broad. The other thing, so I hope this, Abdullah, kind of starts to help you. The other thing to mention here is, which gives you sort of freedom. And I've had conversations this week, as I do every year with students who start to think, oh, I've got to do this project, or I must do this project because I've been offered it, or I don't like that project. Well, this is your choice. You own this process. So you get to choose a project that works for you. That's step one. Step two is you get the chance to craft what that project is actually going to end up being. So we pull together a project scope to ensure that both parties kind of know what's expected. But once you get in term two and start talking as a company, that project scope could change radically. And it might even change in term three when you're working with the company. So that's absolutely fine. Okay, I hope Abdullah, that's actually helped you a little bit. If not, I haven't got my email address on here. You can certainly find it on the internet. If you want more information, you can always contact me, and you can always contact Hannah as well for extra information. Someone, Tiffany, background in political, I'm interested in that. Is my yes, political science, that's great. Also, I have fantastic. If you've got certifications in other things, that all adds to your story. Yeah, there is no I haven't got a list of excluded degrees, if that makes sense. I think that I'm a believer in people's motivations and capabilities come from that. So if you're motivated to do this degree, knowing what you're facing, so the reality of coming to a course where you're going to be learning programming maybe for the first time, that can be a little bit of a shock to the system. But actually, often I get students after a few weeks saying specifically to me, because I teach programming, oh, I'm really enjoying this now. I'm actually starting to get to it. It's starting to kind of make sense. So there's a sort of transition path for some people to get into more technical things. But yeah, political science. I'm sure there are elements of quantitative work you've done anyway, which will see you in good stead. Lola, yeah, doesn't matter. It's meant to the course supports people who have both quantitative and non-quantitative degrees. Yeah. You just have to convince us when you do your interview that you're the right person to do it. That's the challenge to you. How many modules do we, so this is Samyak, how many modules do we have to study in term two? 4. No, you can't take more than 4. You do 4. And that's the rule. So we've had this kind of ambitious thing before from students. Nothing wrong with ambition. I think if you want to do more analytics, there's always opportunities to get involved in various other things that are taking place. So we have, for instance, this year, we have an Analytics for Society award starting up. It's going to be working with Imperial and other universities where students can work on their own kind of analytics proposal, if you like, or idea. So there are other things that you can kind of nurture your capability with, or capabilities, I should say. Okay, I'm a student that's why would that be considered? I don't think any of that. I'm sorry, I'm going to give the name here. Inglesia, sorry.
Yeah, I'm looking at that question as well. I think it's as long as your final award is going to be a full undergraduate degree, then there's no problem with that
Yeah.
application.
No, I think that is absolutely fine. Samyak, I have developed a few projects. Great, adds to your application. Is there a minimum GMAT requirement for the course? No. So I think schools are not required. Hannah's already jumped in there. Can professional course certification others be put like proof of statistical data for my application? Yeah, anything you've done is of interest. Yeah. Anything that you've done, certifications, capabilities, degrees, you know, all of interest to us. At the end of the day, you have to differentiate yourself from other applicants. There's quite a few applicants to this program, and I think you have to distinguish, and that comes down to how you work through the interview that we give you. So I'm not sure what numbers they are going to be this year. In the past, we've had about 1,000 applicants, I'm going to say. And we're trying to whittle that down to 140 students this year. So there's nothing new there. So you have to differentiate yourself, and that comes out when you do the interview. Yeah, that's fine. Can you provide information on theoretical frameworks and practical statistics data analysis? No, right, that's a good question. Well, I like to think all what we do is actually very practical. I know other programs go quite deep on the statistics and the mathematics. We don't. So we give a kind of a broad statistics perspective, enough to kind of understand and support some basics around machine learning. We do that in term one. We don't take it any further. So I think we're very practically based throughout. We're not sort of just focused on concepts and deep theories. You know, that's where we're at. I hope that answers your question, Nure. No, we don't. I'm afraid, Omar, offer intakes. There we go. Hannah's already answered that one. How when right, so Jahi, I think some exposure to Python before you come is useful. I can't mandate that. We have started to send out, certainly this year, I sent out a kind of get yourself started pack, not too onerous, but would be the kind of level that I'd like people to or get to. We use a platform called Jupyter Notebooks, an industry sort of standard platform. So just having some exposure to Jupyter Notebooks and writing code in a Jupyter Notebook is a good starting point. And I don't think you need don't need more than that. Obviously, I'm not restricting people putting time into learning more about a language beforehand, because it's never ending, basically. What advice would you offer to on how to make the most of the program? Abdullah, that's a kind of interesting question. What advice? I think manage your time carefully. Think about deadlines. I think that's important. Grow your network. In other words, you know, build a network of people that you trust, because your fellow students will be supporting you through the process. And that might be within group coursework, so it might be just at an individual level. Be prepared to reach out to academic staff if you're happy, or even if you're not happy. Be prepared to connect with those people. And if you can, focus on or kind of identifying what defining what you want to achieve at the end of it, what your goals are by the end of it. Some people come, as I say, kind of predefined, and then they sort of change their mind, and that quite frequently happens. So I think come and not be too bound on what you're trying to achieve is good. Let the course and yourself evolve to that. I've got a BSc in business from you, I would say it would tough for me to get in. In fact, no, it's not tougher for you to get in. If you meet our basic requirements, and don't know if Hannah has answered this one already. I'm on
Yeah,
cat.
said the same
Yeah,
thing.
sorry.
It all scrutinised equally. It doesn't matter about the country of the qualification.
Yeah, Samyak, I've got a question here. Are there any internships that the students have to do during the course, or is it just the dissertation project? The answer to that, it's just the dissertation project. I fiercely say don't do internships at the same time as the dissertation project. That's the equivalent of shooting yourself in both feet with one shot. Very clever thing to do, but very, very painful. So don't do that. What is the ideal characteristic for this character? Is that Mohammed? I'm not sure what ideal characteristic is. I think you might have my capabilities of spelling or something like that. So how can I help you? Do you want to resend that? Do you mean ideal character?
I guess
Uh,
student
go.
profile kind of question.
Student
So
profile.
ideal student profile.
It's ideal student profile. Ideal student profile. I like students who are willing to engage, high levels of engagement. Yeah, because that just changes it for everybody. Yeah. So I'd like 140 students that put us under a bit of pressure because they're engaging with us all the time and I want more rather than less. They might not get more, but that's a good place to be. So engagement, I think, willingness to ask questions, curiosity, those sorts of things are important. Yeah, I think Hongyi's answered some of these. Where are we up to? What is the employability support, Hongyi? Sorry, you've answered that. There's career coaches, there's all sorts of stuff available. Which tools are most used mostly? Python. I have an ongoing debate with my marketing analytics module leader, Wei, who teaches R. So he teaches R at the same time as I teach Python. He believes R rules the world. I think he's deluded, but we will continue to have that conversation. How long in terms of words is a dissertation project? It's 12,000 words. It's quite an effort. And actually, one of the challenges we face is people kind of forget the fact that it takes a long time to put 12,000 good words together. So although 3 months sounds like a good time, it literally divides up pretty much 1 month, get your act together and find out what's going on. Month 2, do something useful. Month 3, write it all up. And that's kind of a very sweeping, broad analysis of a dissertation project that puts it in perspective of what you can achieve. So that's a catch for a lot of people, is the 12,000 words and making it, yeah, 12,000. There we go. Hannah, you did say 10,000 words. Yeah, I know. I think I've answered, and Hannah have been jumping ahead of me and answering questions faster than I can get to them. So I hope I haven't contradicted anything anyone said, and I hope I've answered all the questions that have come up. Oh, yeah, good question, Edwina. Yeah, so in an ideal world, I would love it that 140 students went out and found their own projects with 140 companies. So there was a whole process of finding projects. Unfortunately, that takes a great deal of effort. Okay. But if you've of a mind that you want to do a particular thing as a project, and you have a kind of motivation to make that happen, then I absolutely encourage people to go out and source their own projects. But on the whole, that's a tough thing to do for a number of reasons. It works for a handful of people each year that they decide they want to do their own projects and they go off and do them. So it's not restricted. And in fact, people start looking for their own projects and still engage with the projects that we have. So it acts as a sort of insurance policy. Okay. No dissertation, Nore. It's a strange one. Choice between a dissertation and an industry project. It's kind of both in a funny sort of way that we do. You have to deliver a dissertation project to us, that's defined, but you do that within the context of a business and a business problem. Yeah. So that's it. There's no variation on that. You might do it with a company that we've found. You might do a company with what you've found. You might choose to do a dissertation project which is much more research based and isn't linked to a company. So within the context of what I call a dissertation project, that can vary. Yeah, it doesn't 100% have to be with a company, and there are reasons for that. Both kind of like from a point of view of practicalities and point of view of student interest. Okay. Eric, Hannah's answered that. All right. Okay, so we've answered the one about modules and capacity. Do you see differences in your past cohorts? Well, it's a kind of strange one, Kian, that question. Do you see differences between prior working experiences? Yes, but the differences add to the kind of value, the diversity of the course. Yeah. So I don't kind of put people into boxes and say, well, that's that. I don't think of people in those terms. It's all about kind of where is someone at a point in time in terms of their development and their understanding of the way the world works and their capabilities. So, you can have somebody who's just come out of an undergraduate degree who's quite streetwise and knows what they want to do and going for it. And then you find out that, I don't know, they started a company when they were 17 or something like that, but they're now with us at 21. And then you might find these are made up scenarios. And then you might find someone who's worked for 10 years and a bit of a rut, and that's all they've done. And that's fine. Yeah. Both things. I'm trying to, those are not real world examples. I'm just trying to give you a sense of diversity there. Yeah. It's all about, and Hannah's just answered one, going on to the next thing about meeting our basic requirements. Okay, so Kian, I hope that kind of, the answer is yes, of course there's a difference, but it doesn't matter. That's what I'm trying to say. Let's see if we've got more messages coming in. What are you looking for and what criteria for you use to evaluate perspective? Okay, so I'll be kind of very blunt about this in terms of if we like somebody's application and they pass the minimum requirements, we ask them to do a video interview, of which there are 7 questions, I think it might be more, but I haven't got that number to hand. I've done it so many times, I've forgotten the extra 7 questions. All you have to do, which sounds pretty easy, but the number of students who don't do it, is you have to answer the question in your own way. All you have to do is read the question and answer the question. And I would say many students don't make it into the course because they just don't answer the question. They're not thinking. They're not thinking broadly. So think carefully. Think, why are they asking me this question? Yeah. And so that's how we evaluate. We evaluate primarily, we evaluate on capabilities as well. We look at your personal statements and look at your application and look at that. That will be part of the reason to ask you to do the interview. But when you get to the interview, for goodness sake, just read the question and answer the question. Sounds so simple, yeah? But the number of applicants who don't quite get that is quite remarkable. And that's a distinguishing feature. We need people who kind of can listen and we can interpret and think on their feet. So thinking on your feet is important. That's what I'm looking for, Lola. Yeah. I hope that helps, and I hope that hasn't dissuaded you from applying. Yeah. Any other questions at all from people?
Hi, David.
Hi.
Yeah, so my name's Emil Qureshi, and I just gave my interview yesterday. It's very nice to meet you, and of course, everyone else on call.
Sure.
I just thought it would be easier to ask you the question instead of typing it. So yeah, I just wanted to know, could you maybe elaborate on any of UCL's, if there are any international students to contribute to UCL's community, especially in leadership or maybe any mentoring roles? Are there any opportunities for that?
Did you say, is that to receive mentorship or to give mentorship?
To maybe receive it. So what opportunities are there for international students to contribute to the UCL community in some way, shape, or form?
Yeah, I think there are a number. I mean, I don't have a kind of list. There's,
You'll be thinking of societies, won't you? There's
yeah,
many societies
yeah.
that sort of look at these sorts of things. And
There's
I guess it's induction week, isn't it? They sort of have fairs on where you can find out about all of these
there's an awful
groups.
lot go. Yeah, I just sorry, I'm talking over you, Hannah. There's an awful lot going on. There were 40,000 students, 12,000 staff. We're a big institute. One of the challenges is to try to kind of hone that down a little bit and think carefully what you're really interested in and what fits in with your timetable as well. But
Okay.
there are definitely opportunities to be mentored. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Fine, no problem at all. Thanks for the questioning. Thanks for coming on video. That's great.
Yeah, of course. Nice to meet you all.
Yeah, and you. So come on, any other questions? Any other questions from anyone? There we go. Hongyo's just put some stuff on you. Thank you.
Oh, great. Thanks. I'll check that out.
Yeah, yeah, check it out. Yeah. More questions we're waiting for. Okay, cool. Think we are done. Oh, one last question. Lola and Jisoo, who's going to get there first? Oh, how long? Oh,
So
it is a question.
yeah,
How
we
long
can,
is it
yeah,
gonna?
I can answer that. I mean, we've got 3 rounds of decision making. So if your application came over to us by the 9th of December, then we expect to have first decisions by the 30th, well, actually out to you by about the 10th of February. If your
Yeah,
application's sent over to us by 21st of February, we'll get back to you by the 25th of April. And if your application is in a later round, 18th of April, I think that's after the cutoff or around thereabouts, we'll get back to you, everybody, the latest 6th of June. That's the plan at the moment. I would note that outcomes can sometimes be that you're actually on hold. So then it will be within the next round that you would get a decision. So yeah, that's the timeline
good. I think
that we're working on at the moment.
yeah, Hannah, I think you've answered this last one coming in as well, because we've got somebody who has had an interview and maybe hasn't had an answer yet. Yeah.
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 So
So that
yeah, you'll be
fits
getting
it.
that, yes, within the next couple of weeks. If we can send them out faster, we do. But that is the latest by which you would get an outcome. And I believe these dates are on the in the admissions page as well. UCL
Should be.
in our page in the prospectus. So yeah, if you want to double check back on those, please check the prospectus.
Cool. Anything else from anyone? Yeah. Look, I hope that's been informative. I hope it's been useful. You know, that you can reach out to us at any time and we will try to answer your questions, however small they may appear or even how big they may appear. We're definitely willing to answer those questions. We want people to come clear of mind of why they're going to go through this program and what the outcomes are going to be when you get there. Yeah. So Hongyu's got his stuff there. Okay. Stuff, email even. Thank you. Any other questions? We're good. I think that's it. I think people are ready for their lunch wherever they are in the world, I'm sure.
I think I have one more question.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Come on then.
So when I was applying for this course, I applied, I think in December. Yeah. And I already gave my interview. But when I was choosing my electives, I was thinking, would it be possible by any chance to maybe choose more than 2 electives, or is that it's not possible? Maybe to
No,
all
it's not.
course or
It's not possible. It's neither possible and it wouldn't even be sensible
okay.
because you know we definitely have people perhaps like yourself who are ambitious to
Yeah.
broaden your understanding. And I think, you know, when you get here, there are ways of discussing how that might work. I've had a
Yeah.
student come to me last week and said, you know, I want to do some more voluntary work in some with some deep, more research-based analytics. What can we do? What can you do to help me? And I've kind of connected them to, I suggested they go and talk to a couple of my colleagues and see what's happening. So I think there are ways to challenge yourself and broaden yourself without going down another formal module path. Yeah.
Okay.
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 Yeah.
Thanks.
That's cool. All right. No problem at all. All right. I think we'll say goodbye then. All right. Thanks everybody. Have a great day. Have a great week. Have a great month. Have a great year even. All right. Take care. See ya.
Cool. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Take care. Bye.